How to market your business faster. Now, I think this is something every entrepreneur or business owner wishes they could do. And when you meet an entrepreneur or business owner that seems to have done it well, there's a little bit of envy, I think, that gets created, as it's very, very tricky to take your idea, take your product, take your service, go to the market, and then wait for results. And so in this episode, I'm going to share a little bit about what I have learned about trying to market your business, how fast it goes, what the impediments are, or what prevents marketing from producing faster results, in hopes that maybe it's going to help you. Maybe as a business owner, you're stuck, you feel like your marketing efforts aren't working, and you want a better result, and you want it faster. And so I'm going to share some of my learnings with you in hopes that you find it helpful. So I have a theory. My theory is that there's no shortcut through the time and cost that it takes to let the market know that your business exists, that your products or your services exist, without having some sort of compelling offer. Now, I'm going to get to that in a minute, but let's talk about the time and the cost. So let's use a simple example. Let's say that you have a product or you have a service and you need to tell the marketplace about it. And within your marketplace, there are 10,000 customers. Well, with a certain amount of money, so let's say you had an unlimited marketing budget, you could spend that budget and get to all 10,000 people, but you would have a very high cost associated with that if you needed to create a piece of content or a series or a whole series of content that would get your message in front of the marketplace. And if we follow kind of the idea that it'll take you 10 times to get in front of someone before they use you, if you had an unlimited marketing budget to get to the entire market of 10,000 customers, it's going to just cost a lot of money to hit that bar. But that's what would be required. You got to get in front of your customers, 10 times. Or your potential customers 10 times before they even know you exist, or before they start to engage with you. And if you had an unlimited amount of money, that cost would be significant. You can go the other way and you can say, we will spend no dollars on marketing, but we will spend our own time on it. So me and my founders and my sales team, we are going to call all 10,000 customers one by one by one by one by one. And what that means is there's an amount of time that it would take to reach all 10,000 customers and to reach them 10 times so that they finally know who you are and they're prepared to interact with you. So on the one hand, it could take a lot of time to tell the market that you exist. On the other hand, it could just simply cost a lot of money to let the market know that you exist. And so somewhere between those 2 points falls every business owner and entrepreneur trying to market their products, their services to the marketplace. And you have to figure out, how do I best spend my time? How do I best spend my money? But there is no shortcut to having to get my message out to the marketplace if I don't have a compelling offer. And if maybe, and some of the other things we're going to talk about, I don't actually know who I'm marketing to in that crowd of 10,000. And so my theory is that there's just an amount of time and an amount of money to let the marketplace know that your product or service exists. And you're not in control of how quickly that happens unless you're prepared to write a big check or spend a lot of time to try and make the exercise go faster. But there's just an investment that needs to be made in order to get the message to your marketplace. So how do you make that go faster? Well, in my example, I suggested that the marketplace was 10,000 potential customers. So somehow you have identified that there are 10,000 customers that need the product or service that your business offers. And you were prepared to commit a certain amount of time and a certain amount of money to reaching all 10,000 customers. Well, how could you make the result go faster? In my experience, the way the result goes faster is by looking at the marketplace, taking the same dollars, taking the same amount of time, and deciding to spend it on a smaller marketplace. The challenge that I have had in the past is thinking that everyone in the marketplace that generally fits the description of the product or service that my businesses offer is my potential customer. And in some sense, That's correct. But in another sense, that is unreasonable because not every type of customer is going to, even on an equal basis, you could take one customer and you could take two of my competitors in our business, and for lots of different reasons, that customer may not pick us. And so, even though there could be 10,000 potential customers out there, the way I have found a way to go faster with marketing is to reduce the size of the market that we are trying to deliver our message to. Now, quick little side note. I define marketing as one to many, our business to the entire marketplace, versus sales, which is a one-to-one exercise, my business to one customer. And so on a marketing basis, part of the reason why marketing can take so long is because the goals that are trying to be achieved are simply very, very large and require a large amount of time and a large amount of cash. And so what happens is most businesses don't have an endless amount of time. They don't have an endless amount of cash. And so what they do is they go after the entire marketplace and they just chip away at it day after day after day after day. And that is a strategy. In fact, I have used that strategy when I am unsure of how to define, a 10,000 person market into 1,000. I have simply decided to plant a seed every single day to be doing something to get our message out into the marketplace until I could get a better handle on who exactly are we trying to talk to in the marketplace. And so if I only had $1,000 to spend and I only had 1,000 hours to spend, I'm not going to get a big return if I'm trying to talk to 10,000 potential customers. But if I have $1,000 to spend and I have 1,000 hours to spend and I'm trying to market to 100 customers, I can get there faster. I can get the results quicker. So what does that mean? It means you have to really understand who do you want to talk to. But secondly, if you want to reduce the time and cost associated with the marketing efforts that you're undertaking as a business, is you have to have a compelling offer of some sort. Now, I'm not going to go into the theory behind creating a compelling offer. I think there are a lot of other resources and other people that are better to be referred to for this. I'll just simply share with you what I've discovered. Someone like an Alex Hormozi, Hormozi, he's got a great outline and great scaffolding to help you as a business understand how to create an offer. In fact, I think the book on Amazon is called $100 Million Offers or something like that. So make sure to take a look at that. But the point is, if you want to reduce the amount of time, so in my example, 10,000, I only have so much time, I only have so much money, so it's going to take me that much longer to try and get my message to the marketplace because of the limited amount of time and cash that I have. However, if I reduce the marketplace down to who I think my customer is, more specifically, and do a bit of a customer avatar and try to define like who uses us, why do they use us, what do they look like let's push around who our perfect customer is. And you can refer to one of my other episodes about understanding your perfect customer. But if I can take the bigger market, push it down, carve it down into something that is better reflective of who my potential customer is, then that same amount of time and that same amount of money can go much, much further. And because it can go much, much further, it means I can go faster. I can get to that 10 times exposure number faster, meaning my potential market has to see our business 10 times before they begin to engage with us. $1,000 of time, $1,000 of money, 10,000 people that have to hear about us is going to take longer than $1,000, 1,000 hours of time, and 1,000 people that need to listen to us. So that's how I've come to understand this in my own mind. And in order for that even to go faster, the better an offer I have, the less time and money I have to spend attracting the customer. And so if I don't want to have to talk to my potential marketplace 10 times before they engage with me, then I need to put time and energy into understanding how do I create an offer. You might think of it more like a lead magnet. That would be kind of common language, I think, if you were doing a Google search. But how do I create a lead magnet or an offer that reduces the number of times I have to talk to my potential customers? And why does it reduce the number of times? Because if it's compelling enough, instead of having to talk to them 10 times to get the result without an offer, if I have a compelling offer, it means I might only have to talk to them 5 or 6 times. Or if the offer is really good, maybe once or twice. But if I can reduce the number of times I need to talk to my marketplace or get my message to them by having a really great offer, I can then achieve a faster marketing result just by virtue of spending some time on that. So what I have learned in conjunction with this is whatever time and money I'm spending marketing is probably the amount of time and money I have to spend selling. So if it takes me, $1,000 and 1,000 hours to get 100 customers, it's probably going to cost me 1,000 hours and $1,000 to convert 100 customer or 100 prospects into customers. So I usually make a connection between how much are we spending on marketing and how much do we end up spending on sales? And you might think, well, that's crazy, Dylan. If you're spending all that money on marketing, wouldn't sales be like zero? Well, no, because if it took me 10 times to get them in the door, it means I didn't have a compelling enough offer for them to come in on their own faster. It means that there's nothing unique about my business that would convert them quicker. So by the time they get down to the sales end of our business, our salespeople have to do the same thing. They have to try and convince the customer that we have a compelling offer, why we are different, what the benefits are, why they would use us. And so there's an amount of time that has to be spent. And so I consider it the same way I consider the time spent on marketing. And then there's usually cost. Maybe you have to send some emails. Maybe you have to have a brochure. Maybe you have to have some video. Maybe you have to do a quote. Maybe you have to invest some time into a proposal. So the faster you can get a marketing result, so by having a compelling offer, getting people in the door, shrinking down your target market from 10,000 people down to 1,000, maybe even down to 100, the marketing time and dollars you have will go further. If you have an offer, that means it'll go faster, and by the time it hits your sales desk, customers should just be converting over because the sales team is really just continuing on with the experience that the marketing end of your business was giving them. So as a real life example, in one of our businesses, we offer a free commercial vehicle safety inspection. That is one of the offers that we provide to the marketplace. And then we discovered that there's a certain type of customer that is appealing to. Fleet customers don't really care about getting a free commercial vehicle inspection because it's just not important to them. They do so many of them that a free one doesn't mean anything. But guess what? Fleet customers aren't the types of customers that we want. The customers that we want are the customers that have one or two or maybe three pieces of equipment that they do need to get inspected every year. And the amount of money that it costs to get an inspection, when they don't have to pay for that, that's very meaningful to them. And because it's meaningful to them, that tells us a little bit about who they are and what their characteristics are. And when they walk in the front door to exercise that free vehicle inspection, there's virtually no selling that happens because the customer is expecting to get a vehicle inspection. They get their vehicle into the shop, they get it inspected, they're told what needs to be fixed, it gets fixed, and off they go, and they're now a customer. Prior to coming up with an offer like that, we would simply have to market our business the same way everyone else is marketing their business. And then it just becomes a game of, can we get in front of our market a minimum of 10 times? When they finally engage with us, then our sales team has to convince them why to use us. And then we have to try and figure out a way to get them to just come to the shop and meet us. And so the more effort you have to put into marketing is from just a time and money perspective means there's more time and money that has to be spent on the sales end of your business as well. The more compelling an offer you can create, the better you can understand who you're trying to attract into your business. And if you can get those two pieces correct, by the time they make their way to the sales end of your business, there's less money and less time spent converting them over into revenue, which is ultimately the goal. So how do you market your business faster? You understand who your potential customer is. You create an offer that is very compelling and is different than the rest of the marketplace. And instead of trying to hit the entire market, you hit just the customers that you want with an offer that makes sense to them. And then that should drive them in your front door. When they come in the front door, the sales effort is very, very minimal, and you can convert them into revenue. The opposite of that would be to not define who your customer is, take your time and money, try to market to the entire marketplace. And when you finally do attract a lead, your sales team then has to spend an enormous amount, the same amount of time and energy convincing that customer to become revenue. And so That's how I think of it. In my head, that's kind of what guides my actions. I don't think that there's anything, there's no such thing as a free gain. It costs money to get a customer. As entrepreneurs, the only thing that we're in control of is how well can we do the work to understand who our customer is and craft an offer or craft a reason to bring them in the front door. That's the value that we provide. Unless you're a very wealthy entrepreneur that has unlimited amount of time because you have lots of people on your team, and then all you do is just bomb the marketplace, get to that 10 times number as quickly as the money allows, and then take the results that come from that. But if you're like most business owners or most entrepreneurs, you have to be a little bit more intentional about it, or at least in my experience, that's what I've had to do. And when you're scrappy and you don't have unlimited budgets and you don't have unlimited time, you really have to make it count. And this is how I have made it count in our portfolio. So I hope that you find that helpful. If you'd like to talk about it, reach out. My goal is to meet entrepreneurs, learn about their businesses, try to help them out the best that I can by sharing my experiences. I know there's a lot of knowledge and information out there, and I'm looking to appeal to the owner-operators who are in their business, trying to find their way through, the cash flow quadrant. So make sure to check the show notes if you're not sure what that means, and ultimately get operators, owners to a position where they're investing. And in order to do that, things like how do we market quicker? How do we turn customers into cash? These are things that really matter. And I think there's lots of small business owners and entrepreneurs that are always looking for a tactic or a trick or a strategy that can help them achieve the results that they're looking for. So thanks for tuning in today. Make sure to check out the next episode.